Okay, so it's a playoff series now. I still come out of this game thinking Carolina's the better team. Boston played well, but yeah, it's frustrating because Boston was dead coming into this game, and then they come back and they they win. And fair play to Boston Bruins. They played a good game. Their fourth line for them was spectacular. They were blocking shots. They did all the right things. I genuinely think Boston came in and they did the right things to win. I don't think Carolina beat themselves, all that. However, Carolina screwed up by letting Boston get back in this series. If I was a betting man, which I'm not, I bet money the Canes are still going to win this series. And I'll get into why in a little bit. However, they really just kind of shot themselves in the foot with that shorthanded goal. That really got Boston back into it. The fact that it was a shorthanded goal. And the fact that it was, I'm forgetting who scored the shorthanded goal, but just the fact that it was a shorthanded goal, the fact that it tied the game, that really was what Boston needed in this series. They needed to catch a fair play to Boston. They capitalized on that momentum to get the W. However, Carolina, they did many things wrong, in my opinion. I think they lost a bit of their grit, whether or not it was Boston, who was already a gritty team, stepping up their grit, and Carolina just couldn't match Boston when they're at their best when it comes to their hitting and their effort level and their body checking. Carolina took some stupid penalties tonight as well, and that didn't help. You have the best penalty kill in the world, but Boston was able to figure it out because he gave him so many opportunities. So, Martinook, I think specifically took quite a few penalties tonight that weren't great. However, I hope Martinook's okay. And while I am on injuries, I probably should start the video like I did last time. I do hope the person who got hit with the glass, I forget what his role is okay. And, I don't blame Boston fans for slamming on the glass. It's hockey, or like it happens all the time. One in a million, the glass. I've never seen plexiglass just break in half like that before. So one in a million play. I've saw some people saying don't bang on the glass now. It's one in a million. That glass is made to be malleable, and the glass just didn't do a good job. That's why the person got hurt. I guess you and yeah, like it's just one of those things that happens. But back to the hockey itself. That third period was terrible. I actually came in thinking the game was good. Carolina actually didn't let Boston do a 10-minute push in the first period because I was thinking Carolina has to avoid that because if Boston gets the crowd into it, Boston would win. Boston did get the crowd into it by scoring a shorthanded goal, and their second period was one of the best periods I've ever seen. So now that or not one of the best periods I've ever seen, one of the best playoff periods, one of the best periods by a single team in the playoffs. But not counting that, what Carolina did wrong, first off, I thought two players had a particularly weak game for me personally, Brady Shea and Kotkaniemi. That power play goal Marchand scored, it was like, or Marchand's goal, one of them, if Marchand got multiple goals. But Marchand's goal, Brady Shea just stopped getting on him and moved him away. I think that's because he thought another defenseman was there, but a guy has the puck in the slot. I don't care if another guy's leaving his guy. It's not like you went to go towards that guy. You don't just back off a player like Marchand. Brad Marchand, one of the best players in hockey, one of the biggest dicks in hockey, but he's still one of the best. You got to give it to him, and you got to respect when that guy has the puck in the slot. And I don't think Brady Shea did that. Thought Brady Shea had a few bad turnovers, a few bad passes tonight, and I hate to name the other guy. He's gotten a lot of heat, a lot of it unfair, not by Canes fans, but just by a certain particular fan base that is upset about the offer sheet. But Kotkaniemi, I don't think he had a good game. His turnover, look, I'm not going to blame the entire game on him. I'll get into more stuff the Canes did wrong, but his turnover got Boston back not only in the game but in the series. He bounced off the glass right to a Boston guy in the slot, resulting in a 2-on-1. You can't really blame anyone else for that because it was a 2-on-1. There was a forward on D, and you made a bad pass. And then Kanyemi made another. Kanyemi was another player who was making bad passes tonight. I felt like he was. I don't, and Kanyemi has been a good player for us. I think he is worth that offer sheet and what we had to give up to get him. Just tonight he had a bad game, and there's nothing else to it. I'm not gonna pretend that I hate him or hate the way he's played. No, he had a bad night, and he's generally been good for us this year. And the other thing was, but Carolina's players, even the ones that played well, they could not get shots through. They Boston blocked, I think they said 20 combined shots. You got to get the shots through. I mean, sometimes there really shouldn't have been blocked shots, and Boston would still find a way to block them. It felt like I was watching the 2019 playoff series where Carolina just could not get a shot through. It was ridiculous to me. And he kind of get shots through. I mean, that's it. If you can't get the puck to the net, you're not going to score. And Carolina failed to do that on the power play, on even strength. I mean, those are the only two times shorthanded. You're not going to have many opportunities to do that. But on those two times, I think Carolina themselves stopped hustling at certain points in the game. There just was not a pep in the step. I mean, like, move your feet and get in there. They weren't doing that at times. I mean, and then Boston would come in and they would win puck battles they shouldn't win in an evenly matched back and forth hockey game. Which this game ended up becoming. It wasn't at one point. Yeah, Carolina lets Boston get back in the series. And yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say with that. But yeah, it's like those kinds of things: turnovers, losing pucks in the corner, letting Boston be able to keep the puck in the net. It's just puck in the zone. It's just like that's going to cost you a game 99.9% of the time unless your goalie can steal, like, unless you have a goalie that's capable of stealing wins. And, it's no insult to, God, his name. It's so hard to pronounce. I'm going to try to find spelling of it. But the goalie that's in net for us, Kiach. I'm not gonna be able to find it. Kyachkov, something like that. I'm sorry. I do want to learn it as quickly as I can. It's a hard name to learn. I'm a dirty, sweaty American, but it's just, yeah, Kyachkov he's not gonna be a goalie that can steal you a hockey game, and that's not an insult to him. He's just not there yet. There's very few goalies who can. Price, Vasilevsky, Shesterkin. There are a few goalies. Insert Nashville Predators goalie here. There are certain goalies who can do that. A 22-year-old goalie is not going to be able to do that. So, no blaming on him. I don't really think any of the goals were his fault. Maybe the power play goal, but it's Marchand in the slot. Not many goalies can stop that. So yeah, it was Marchand in the slot, and I mean, I don't think a single goal was his fault. So, but now time to give it to Hurricane of the game. There are two Hurricanes who I thought played particularly well. Jacob Slavin being one. I don't think I've ever seen Jacob Slavin play a bad game, but I am insanely biased towards the man. But yeah, Jacob Slavin, I thought played a phenomenal game. I really thought he was Hurricane of the game. And then the other one's got to be Brendan Smith. Brendan Smith came in and he just put everything out there. Like the dude's bleeding and he comes back on the ice. I've done that before, but not many hockey players can do that. That's the one thing I've done if I ever flex on my hockey skills. No, that's the one thing. One of the few things I can say I've done is I've come back and get back in games while bleeding twice. So no, that's not me flexing my hockey ability. But yeah, not many players will take the hits that he took. And then he came back and he kept laying big hits and he became an effective defenseman. Almost made the game 4-3, but again, he couldn't get the shot through. But but it's still like Brendan Smith was the best player for the Carolina Hurricanes tonight. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And yeah, so that's the positive. The good news is when Carolina pushed, even when Boston had all the momentum, Carolina was able to outplay Boston. So there's still no excuses for losing the series or whatever if that ends up happening. The Carolina comes in, Boston has the momentum. As long as Carolina hustles and works hard for the rest of however many games it takes, hopefully 5 as a Canes fan, that's what I'm hoping for. If it goes more, as long as Carolina hustles, they will win this series. And they really need to keep it going because when they do, they outplay Boston. They can outplay Boston when they work their hardest and they play the way they're capable of playing. They've done it in all 3 games now. They just didn't tonight. So that's the end of this one. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And yeah, see you boys for Sunday.